Hey guys, and welcome back to Step by Step with your host, yours truly, Frederick Smith. I want to do a show today, quick video. It's about the subject of, I was talking about the last time we did a video. I mentioned about down there in Florida where the school shooting was, about the agreement that the school had with the police department down there, with the sheriff department, about not arresting the children when they get in trouble down there. Instead of if the kids get in trouble with a misdemeanor or get caught with marijuana or fights or something like that, instead of arresting the kids, that they was going to work it out some type of way with a punishment through the school system. And that way they could keep the kids from having anything on their records as far as any criminal activity as a young kid on their records, to keep them, in good standings with getting jobs or getting scholarships and that type of thing. But this is something that we need to keep an eye on, because I tried to do some research to see how many other school districts had these kind of agreements. But if you notice, this particular neighborhood that we're talking about, this town, is a more of an affluent town. We're starting to look at the situation like, what is going on with these affluent neighborhoods? Is this what's happening in America? To whereas, why is the more poor African American, Hispanic areas are being so over policed, and these affluent, mostly Caucasian areas are not? And this might be one of the reasons, is because of these agreements that they have with the school systems. Just imagine if the school system has an agreement with them, what else is going on? If they're not going to arrest anybody, and the young kids, they might not want to arrest the parents either. So this is something that we need to really start looking at. People, we really need to start worrying about who we vote into office. We need to vote some people in office that's going to fight for our communities. And this is in every state, no matter what community you live in. This pertains to you, because I grew up in a town back in Holmes County, to whereas you never really seem to see anybody other than people of color being arrested or going to court for anything. Granted, the large majority of my county that I lived in was overwhelmingly black. But at the same time, Caucasian people break the law, but, you never saw them in court, unless it was something really, really heinous that they did. But that's something that we need to really pay attention to. But I have a video of Jake Tapper, when he did an interview with the sheriff down there in Florida, and the things that the Florida sheriff, this particular sheriff, had to say about this. Was kind of, eye-opener, that this is really going on, that these neighborhoods and these cities are making agreements with the police departments, not to pick their children up.
Ask you something else. A lot of people in the community have noted that the Broward County School Board entered into an agreement when you were sheriff in 2013 to pursue the, quote, least punitive means of discipline against students. This news policy encouraged warnings, consultations with parents, and programs on conflict resolution instead of arresting students for crimes. Were there not incidents committed by this shooter as a student, had this new policy not been in place, that otherwise he would have been arrested for and not able to legally buy a gun?
What you're referring to is the Promise program, and it's giving the school has the ability, under certain circumstances, not to call the police, not to get the police involved on misdemeanor offenses, and take care of it within the school. It's an excellent program. It's helping many, many people. What this program does is not put a person at 14, 15, 16 years old into the criminal justice system.
What if he should be in the criminal justice system? What if he does something violent to a student? What if he takes bullets to school? What if he takes knives to school? What if he threatens the lives of fellow students?
Then he goes to jail. That's not
what happened
in the Promise program.
But that's not what happened with the shooter.
If You're telling me that the shooter took knives to school,
Yeah.
or bullets to school,
Yeah.
and police knew about it?
I don't know if police knew about it.
No.
I know that
No,
the agreement
police-
that you entered into with
Jake,
the school allowed the school to give this kid excuse after excuse after excuse, while obviously
Not for bullets, not for bullets, not for guns, not for knives, not for felonies, not for anything like that. These are infractions within the school, small amounts of marijuana, some misdemeanors. You're absolutely
there are
exacerbating
teachers
it.
at that
That's not
school. There are teachers at the school had been told, if you see Cruz come on campus with a backpack, let me know. Does that not indicate that there is something seriously awry with the Promise program if these teachers are being told, watch out for this kid, and you don't?
But if you notice, the rise in crime is on a rise there in those neighborhoods with drug epidemics, the opioid problems, and all these other issues that's going on. You know, is because they have turned a blind eye to these kids for so long that these kids feel invisible. I mean, it takes a lot for a kid to get a machine gun or AR-15 and decide to go in and just slaughter a number of kids. You know, I mean, that's just not something you wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm going to go kill a bunch of people. If that's the case, I mean, if that was just so easily done, then, you know, why is it that you don't find any of the African-American kids going to get guns and going in and just slaughtering large numbers of people? Now, they use this as a mental illness. They talk about mental illness dealing with this, but you got to remember in the inner cities there in Chicago, just imagine how many of those kids that's running around with guns have some type of mental issue. Just imagine growing up in the ghetto, growing up in these poverty-stricken areas where crime is real rampant. Just imagine the mental illness, the disorders that these kids develop over time, the paranoia and the self, complex issues they might have, that contribute to the rise in violence there in those inner cities. And now if you have these outbursts going on in the suburbs where they live in big, beautiful homes, white picket fences, manicured lawns, they have, any food they want to eat. They ride in just about any car they want to ride in, and they don't have no worries, no frustrations, but yet they live in this horrible life that they want to go out and, just slaughter people, murder large masses of people. So just imagine what these children are going through in these inner city ghettos and slums. They are having a really hard time. But none of those guys are going to get AR-15s and just going to school and slaughtering people. Is it really a mental illness problem? Or it's just that kids just feel that they can get away with anything and do anything because their parents don't chastise them. Not even the police department is able to chastise them based on what they're saying down there in Florida. So we need to check on this. We need to really get our vote out there and vote these people out of office. If they're going to do something for one neighborhood, they need to do it for all. They need to make sure everybody is involved in this because all our children matter. Not just the affluent kids or the white kids or the kids that, parents are own a business. All children matter. And we need to make a stand on this by voting. We don't have to hit the streets and protest. Really, to me, that kind of protest is kind of obsolete now because they expect us to get out in the streets and march with signs. It's not really in your face anymore because they expect that. But, now the protest should be at the polls. When we go to vote, we need to protest in the polls. When we go to open up our pocketbooks, our purses and wallets, to go purchase, that's where our protests need to be. We need to be calculating on where we go to eat and, see what these companies stand for, these restaurants stand for. Don't wait until somebody get discriminated against and then you're going to say, well, I'm not going to eat there. Let's do it beforehand so it never get to that point. Let's start to find out what these companies stand for, who they support, who they donate money to. You know, I mean, the Ku Klux Klan is not running around out here, you know, without sponsors. There's somebody sponsoring these groups, these right wing groups that's throwing a lot of propaganda around. It's somebody sponsoring these people. And it's a lot of times it's these businesses that we are spending our money in. So let's be smart about it. Let's start to research who's doing what and where, and let's apply our monies accordingly. All right, well, look, I'm end it up right here. But, you know, before I end, I want to tell everybody that we love you. We're not here to judge you. We want to tell everybody that if you have the opportunity, tell somebody today you love them. Tell somebody today that you're there for them. There's a lot of people suffering in silence nowadays, you know, too ashamed to tell folks that they're going through a hard time. You know, let them know that everything will be all right. Let them know that, you know, that you might have been in the same place they've been in. Let them know how you made it through. It'll be all right. God bless you. We love you. Don't forget to comment, like, share. We want to hear what you think about these subjects that we're talking about. And we want to thank you for tuning in, and God bless you.